Welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a general mid-month reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. It's going to be shorter than the monthly videos, obviously, because it's only covering a 2-week period from the 15th to the 31st of May. So to that end, I'm going to pull 3 cards for your current energy, 3 cards for what's coming towards you, and 3 cards of advice, because I like to do things in threes, and 3 times 3 pleases me beyond measure. So that's the plan. I'm going to try not to pull any clarifiers unless absolutely necessary, to try and keep it nice and short. But I'm open to breaking my own rules if I need to. So now I have 3 cards for Aquarius current energy, please. Ooh. I've got the Hierophant, that's interesting, card of Taurus. Ooh. And the 8 of Earth. Earthy. One more card for Aquarius, please. Ooh, beautiful. The Emperor. So that's 2 major arcana on the table. It's kind of a big deal. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Hermit, right? That talks about introspection. Like going within to find the answers, because you know they're there. You don't have to look externally to you to find any kind of solutions to personally challenging things, right? You know it's all inside you. Underneath that, we've got the Lovers, which talks about a choice, right? Usually quite a big choice, I would say. But for your current energy, you have the Hierophant, card of Taurus. You have the 8 of Earth, which is the card of, for me, work and work-related things, but kind of more than that. It's about mastery, right? It's working away at something until you achieve that level of mastery. And then we've got the Emperor, which is the card of Aries in the major arcana. And I'm immediately struck by the similarity of these 2 cards, yet how different they are, you see. Right? This one is very angular and very rigid looking. It's quite twisted and gnarled up, actually. This one's altogether a lighter depiction, right? The sun's coming through the trees. It seems to be in the middle of a really healthy forest, where this one looks like something that you'd find in a, you know, a fantasy film somewhere. But in between these 2, we have work, also with trees depicted, right? Now the Hierophant is, like I said, it talks of rigidity, right? It talks about structure. Quite often it depicts any kind of situation where you have one person at the top who is kind of like making all the decisions, who's in charge. Kind of like the holder of knowledge, right? Which then gets disseminated down through the ranks, right? And we can see it talking about business, you know, you've got CEO at the top, or higher education, you know. It's called the Acolyte card often. So there's a teaching aspect to it in some way. But it's relatively inflexible, right? People come to the Hierophant to learn, right? To hear the pearls of wisdom that get dropped from the Hierophant's lips, in order to, you know, improve themselves, in order to grow, right? Can sometimes see it indicating the institution of marriage, because sometimes it can talk about societal structures, you know, those things that aren't necessarily institutionalized, but that hold some kind of elevation in society. So I'm going to pull another couple of cards for that, because I'm intrigued. Ooh. This feels a little bit like you flipping the script, which is I love to see for Aquarians, because Aquarians don't like being held in boxes, and the Hierophant is a very slow-moving, very static. You know, if it moves at all, which is very rarely, you know, it's very slow to evolve. It's very rigid. It's very dependable and very predictable. But the two cards that have come out to clarify are the Fool and the Six of Wands. And the Fool is not a rigid energy at all. It's a very free-flowing spirit, right? Kind of ambles around. It doesn't really have a plan, just trusts that everything will be okay. Now, that's why I feel there's a flipping of the script going on here, right? So as the Hierophant would talk about societal expectations, say, for example, the Fool disregards those altogether and makes his own path, right? It's the card of Aries, and we have another card of Aries on the table here. It's trailblazing, right, in some way, victoriously. And as such, it sits quite opposite to the energy of the Hierophant, right? Tell me about the Eight of Earth, please. We have 4 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands. And the Chariot. Yeah, you see, the Chariot talks about decisive movement forwards, right? Self-governance, autonomy, all that kind of thing. Certainly not being ruled in any way, or you know, sort of fed piecemeal by a Hierophant character. And I'm struck by the amount of tree symbolism that we have on all of these cards here, right? With the 4 of Wands and the 9 of Wands there, with trees everywhere. The thing with trees is that they have deep roots, you know. They are sturdy. And it's almost like you're not interested in society's trees anymore. You want to grow your own. You want to do them differently. You have a vision of seeing things differently, and it is very much of yours, of your own creation. You know, this character here is gifting something to a smaller boy. I cannot tell what it is. I mean, it could be an ornate key or something else. It's really difficult to tell what it is, but something's being handed over. And we've got movement, such strong movement. Right, coming out as it does to clarify the Eight of Pentacles, which is this card of work and mastery and all these kind of things, right? It seems like you are building a new structure, you're building a new foundation, right? And it's slightly sideways from what everybody else is doing, which is exactly right for you. This is what it should be. You know, there's a process of individuation going on, right? You're separating yourself from the archetypes of, say, like the Hierophant, pulling away from that, growing your own tree, like creating your own foundation, moving forwards very decisively and very much under your own autonomy. I mean, this is what the Chariot card talks about here. And then we move to the Emperor. Now, the Emperor talks about long-term strategy, right? It's a little less bothered about the day-to-day, you know, business. Like, they've got people who can deal with that. But this is kind of like far-reaching, overarching strategy moving forwards. It's about taking control and doing the best thing for everyone. What about the Emperor, please? Yeah, like, you're not happy with the status quo at the moment, right? We've got the 5 of Wands at the bottom here, and that talks about conflict. But underneath that, we've got the 4 of Pentacles. It's a need to release conflict. Now, whether this is conflict for you internally, or this is just the conflict that you feel in your attempt to approach things differently, it's difficult to say. But in the same read, we've got both the World and the Fool. Like, you're moving into a new cycle, right? And 7 of Pentacles here, it's your... When I was doing the premeditation before I started this, I felt antsy, right? I felt slightly frustrated. I felt a little bit kind of like I wanted to move. And this is what the Seven of Pentacles is saying to me here, right? Now, this could be work, or this could be, you know, just your life generally, or it could be within a relationship. You've got to take it as it resonates to you. But there's a dissatisfaction with how things are at the moment, right? And there's an urge to move, you want movement, and create something. If not creating something entirely new, then certainly firming up the structure that you have created. And it is different. It works differently to how other people do it, right? And so it's quite possible that they don't really understand what it is that you're doing, but you're getting on top of it, and you're certainly seeking to to rule your empire differently is how I would put it, right? There's similarities, like I said, between the Hierophant and the Emperor, but they are different. Yeah. Very different. And this is you putting your mark on this, right? You're starting a new cycle, whether you realise it or not. You're literally on the precipice of it. And it's this frustration. You know, I posted a thing on my Instagram like months and months ago, and it was something like, it was a quote by the universe, and it was, you know, I had to make you uncomfortable, otherwise you never would have moved. And this feels what it is like. There's an antsy kind of urge to build something of your own, something different. And if you don't know exactly what it is yet, you certainly, I think, have the feeling, right? The desire to do it, the desire to move sideways. Because it is a move sideways. It's not in front, it's to the side, right? It's possibly doing something that other people do, but doing it in a, you know, possibly nuanced, different way, or possibly a radically different way, right? Interesting. So, see what's coming towards Aquarius, please, for the last 2 weeks of May. What's coming towards Aquarius? Shit. What's coming towards Aquarius? Whoa. Interesting. What's coming towards Aquarius? Oof. What's coming towards Aquarius? Wow. Wow. Okay. On the bottom of the deck now we have the Three of Earth, right? This is cooperation and collaboration for me. Interestingly enough, directly underneath that we've got the King of Fire, right? There's that fire sign that keeps popping up in your reading. But cooperation, collaboration, building with other people, right? And it's I feel like these are people that you're bringing in on board to help you create this new foundation, create this new thing that is slightly sideways from everything else, from the way that other people do things. A radical overhauling. And I'm going to go with radical because one of the cards that's dropped out here is death. Right? Huge transformational energy. But we'll get to that in a second. Please. Right, the first card that's out is the Knight of Oceans for what is coming towards you. Now, this is the Knight of Oceans deals with movement of emotions, right? So quite often it's somebody coming towards you, and if it was a love reading, I would say, you know, somebody's going to come towards you and offer you their cup of love. But I don't feel like this is a love reading for you, Aquarius. I think you're a little less interested in that than in other things. So this is an approach. Is it an approach? Or is it you approaching someone else? Look at that. It's kind of like Nessie. Maybe there's a Scottish connection with some of you. But it's under the Northern Lights. The three cards that came out to clarify were the Six of Cups, which is my card of the past. The Seven of Swords, which for me here is a card that talks about kind of daydreaming and fantasy. And then we've got the Hierophant again, right? And this feels like it could well be well-meaning criticism from old friends, right? Who don't understand where you're coming from. They don't really understand what it is that you're trying to build, right? We've got this Seven of Swords energy, which talks about, castles in the sky. And I feel like that's how they see you, because it's paired up with the Hierophant here, which is that card of structure and rigidity and doing things the way they have always been done, right? Like I said, there's very little movement here, if any, right? Very slow evolving. Because it's the Knight of Cups, I feel like it's kind of being brought with love, but it feels like it's short-sighted. It's people who can't see what you can see. It's people who can't see your vision, right? This is what's coming towards you. This Six of Cups being here, it feels like long-standing friendships, perhaps, right? So be aware of that. Be prepared for it. But then right in the middle, we've got Death, right? Huge transformation. This is the card of transformation, right? It's a shift of state from one thing to another. And whether this refers to you specifically, or whether it refers to what it is that you're working on, I feel like it probably is what you're working on, right? It's the card of Scorpio, and it's about creation and destruction, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It merely changes form, and that's how it comes to mean transformation. Tell me about death. Well, I stand corrected, because what has come out is the King of Swords, and that's Aquarius, that's you, right? The transformation is yours, and it's come out with the moon, right? And for me, the moon talks about those things that are hidden. It talks about those things that kind of ruffle along underneath, and it seems like there's some sort of personal transformation incoming for you, right? And whether this is the way that you see things, or maybe it's identifying blocks in the way that you're thinking. There's a very fundamental transformation incoming, right? But I feel like it's for the better, because it seems to liberate you, right? We've got the Three of Fire. It's the Three of Wands, right? It's that card of looking towards the horizon, right? It's that card of vision. It's a very active card as well. Whereas the Star, which is your card, talks about that long-ranging vision. There isn't a lot of movement initially implied by it, right? It's a state rather than an activity. This is an activity, right? This is spreading your wings and flying, but it's actioning it in the 3D card. It's bringing things to where other people can see, and you're soaring with the sun behind you. And the sun is a very, very positive symbol in the tarot. Tell me about the Three of Fire, please. We've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Empress to clarify. And that's really interesting, because although the Empress is the Queen of Queens, right, therefore she embodies all of the traits of all of the queens as the major arcana version of it, I always feel like the Queen of Pentacles is the queen that I associate most strongly with the Empress, right? Because they're both Earth for a start, right? And it's strictly, that's Capricorn, but it could be Taurus. The point is it's Earth. And for me, the Empress is also Taurus, right? Now, if you've got a Taurus in your life, if there's a Taurus who is actually a fundamental part of this plan, then what I like is that we start off with a Hierophant, which is very inflexible, very rigid, very unmoving. And then there's a kind of evolution through to the Empress. I kind of always prefer to see Taurus come out as the Empress, because it is that earthy quality of bringing new things into the world, right? It's birthing new things into the world. It's fertility and abundance and all those cool things, right? There she is. But look at that. That's that kind of, it's the same character, but it could be that character stepping up to support this. But if you don't have a Taurus around, right, then what we've got is the Three of Fire, this expansion. An expansion is right. That's what it is. It's liberation, this bringing things into the new. Then we've got a 3, which is also the number of kind of expansion and all that sort of thing, bringing new things in. With an archetype that talks about new creativity. And then this queen here, who deals with nurturing and kind of stepped progression. And if it's something that you need, and you do need it, to bring your vision into reality, it's to have that kind of earthy energy supporting it, right? Because it's all very well having really cool ideas, right, things, but you got to make them happen, right? You cannot just think them into existence. Well, maybe if you're a really good manifestor you can, but usually there's some work involved, right, somewhere. And the Taurus energy is really, really good for work, right? They put their head down and they just don't stop, right? But it's slow, but it builds good foundations, right? And this actually is a really good pairing for you, right? You with the vision, and then you with this Taurus energy, kind of building it up and bringing it out, right? So it could be that this is you changing the mind of a significant Taurus and getting them on side, or this could just be you kind of seeing that there is a value to the Taurian approach to things, right? And incorporating that energy into making your vision into reality, right? This is quite profound, actually, Taurus, Aquarius. Shit, I've just dropped cards. There we go. So, this is really fascinating. If it resonates with you in any way, I'd love it if you would leave a comment and just kind of fill me in or whatever. Or at least like the video so that I know that I've hit the mark with you. So, let's get 3 cards of advice for Aquarius, please. What does Aquarius need to know? Oh, that's the first one. 7 of Skies. Here we've got the 2 Oceans and the Hanged Man. Oh, this is interesting, right? Particularly if you are working with a Taurus, because what we've got here is the 7 of Skies, which is the 7 of Swords. We've got the 2 of Oceans here, and we've got the Hanged Man. Now, the 7 of Skies and the 7 of Swords is often called a card of deception, and sometimes you can see it that way. But for me, more often, it's a card of taking a risk, right? Because I find it difficult to impute motive to the scene as it is usually depicted. In some cards you can. It's kind of obvious that there's something, you know, fairly deceptive going on, right? But for most of them, you don't know why it's happening, and it could be happening for a very honourable reason. And I think it's difficult to tell that from a picture often. But there is certainly always a risk implied with what's going on, and that's what I see here, right? And as a card of advice, it's asking you to take a risk, contemplate the possibility of taking a risk. Something that seems like a risk to you may actually turn out not to be quite so much. I'll just pull another card here. Yeah. We've got more pentacle energy here, and my God, right? We've got the 10 of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles. Now, the 10 of Pentacles is a card that speaks to me of commitment and longevity and all those kind of things, right? It can mean business, and I would say it specifically for somebody who, you know, set up a business, put in lots and lots of work and effort. You don't get 10 Pentacles just drop into your lap, unless it's an inheritance, and sometimes this is the inheritance card, but 1/12 of the world's population is not going to, you know, get an inheritance like that. This is about something that you've put time and effort into building, right? Very Taurian energy, in fact. Lots of pentacles going on. There seems to be a you know, a very strong work component to this reading, but this could also indicate family, right? Because time, effort, commitment, stability, all of those things. But we've got that Ace of Pentacles there, right? And that's new opportunities to make more pentacles in whatever way that resonates with you. Sometimes that's a promotion, sometimes that can be a moving of house. It talks about an improvement of your material circumstances in some way, and this is a hefty one, right? But these three cards together speak to me of you needing to take something of a risk, right? It's a calculated risk, but it's a risk nonetheless for a very good outcome, I would say. Now, we've got the Two of Cups, which is working in partnership with someone else. So if you are dealing with a Taurus, maybe the Two of Cups at the bottom of this deck now as well. Don't dismiss out of hand what they have to say, right? Because there's value in what they have to say. Like I said, you need that Taurus energy, whether you're working with a Taurus or not. You need that Taurus energy to bring your vision into reality, and that's what they're very good at, right? Hard work and dedication will get you a long way. What's that saying about success being 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration, right? These are two very good energies for you to be working with, right? Your own Aquarian vision energy, but that 90% of that perspiration will come from the Taurian input, right? Energetic or person, whatever it is. Tell me about two emotions, please. Got the Seven of Swords again. Take a risk, right? Take a risk. I've got the Six of Cups that's come underneath there as well. Like this isn't a new partnership. This is somebody that you've known for a long time. This is somebody who actually probably you trust quite well, and maybe you've lost sight a little bit of the valuable input that they can bring to the table. Cups, please. Yeah, got the Knight of Cups again. That's the second time the Knight of Cups has come in. In which case, this person who's trying to get you to do things the way that you've always done them, right? It was just kind of like lovingly critical of your idea. Maybe what we're talking about here is you needing to convince them that they need to take the risk, right? This is starting to feel more like what it is. Okay? You've got to find a way of getting them on board. And the final card that you've got is the Hanged Man, right? Which talks about a change of perspective, whether for you or whether for someone else. A change of perspective is required, right? But it is a very passive card, right? There's no activity here at all. This is about making this happen before you start actioning anything into the 3D. Tell me about the Hanged Man, please. Got the Queen of Cups and the Ten of Swords. Yeah, like 10 of Cups underneath here. Like whoever this person is who's trying to kind of gently convince you to do something a bit differently, and I feel now that it is possibly both of you actually who need to kind of change your minds a little bit, find a compromise somewhere, right? Because you've got transformation going on with you, but you equally have to help transform someone else, right? Because someone else is deathly worried about this risk, right? Hugely worried about it. You need to find a way of convincing them, getting them on board, right? But take on board their concerns as well, right? I'm going to leave it there. There's an extended that I did. I cannot remember off the top of my head whether it's got anything to do with this at all. I'm going to go and skip through it and remind myself what it says. If it does, I'll put the link to it in the description box, just in case you haven't seen it. If it doesn't, then it won't be there, because I did do it for the monthly readings. But other than that, you're all good, and I'll see you in about a fortnight for the June readings. Take care.